Bitcoin with almost a 10% dip in the last few hours. What does it mean? Is there support? Are we going to see a nice little bounce right now? Or is this the beginning of a longer term bearish move? What's up, everyone? Welcome to Crypto Capital Venture. Hit that subscribe and like on the way in. It means a lot to me as we grow this YouTube channel. Let's jump into the Bitcoin video. Appreciate all of you in the live chats. And Bitcoin, zoom out. First off, let's just zoom out real quick. This happens all the time. So that's number one. Don't live in the moment. Zoom out on the charts, even on the hourly. I mean, we're not even going back far here. We're going back to like end of December. So that's number one. This is a mental game. So remember that. Right? Strengthen your mental muscles. But let's talk about the technicals. In this video, some people don't like this, but this is so much easier for me to do this, to tell the story of what's transpiring. I'm going to show a few clips of recent video to really break down exactly what's happening right now, why right now I'm not concerned at all, but what I'm watching for in terms of Bitcoin. So I want to start real quick. Here's yesterday, earlier in the day. This is what we need right now in the hourly chart, is this hourly candle, the next few hourly candles. We need to see separation from this Fibonacci resistance. But good thing is, so we needed to see separation from that Fibonacci resistance. How did that play out? This is the first thing we're tracking, because this is the immediate resistance that we were watching for Bitcoin. It was the swing high to swing low, and you can just see this is how it played out. I mean, as I did the video, we were getting a little bit of a move above this area. That was the 786 of the Fibonacci. That was resistance around 39,500. Even in that video, we hit 40,000 as I was doing the live stream. But look at the failure. And it is one of the first things we wanted to look for. Can Bitcoin get separation and break through this extreme resistance area? And it didn't. And you have to be very aware of the fact that it didn't. And it's glaringly obvious, the resistance that we saw at the Fibonacci resistance. So what now? Let's continue to break this down. Here's another clip from yesterday. Something usually always forms when we're discussing speculative patterns, and right now we're tracking two, and it's very simple. Symmetrical triangle, which would really entail immediate resistance all up in this area, trading sideways a little bit, but essentially this would be a lower high from this swing high. Okay, so two things have transpired since I did the video yesterday, right? So first things first, yes, we hit the Fibonacci resistance. There it is, the green rectangle, that's 786 to 618. Let me zoom in a little bit. But secondly, we finally have begun forming this structure that we've been talking about pretty much for days now. So the first thing I want to do, and this is a bummer, right? Because this was our $62,000 speculative target from yesterday. We have to remove the ascending triangle because that's just not in play right now. So I want to remove that. And what do we have here? Now we have our other speculative pattern we were discussing, which is a symmetrical triangle, right? And it's really just a consolidation pattern for Bitcoin, lower highs, right? Squeezing into the apex of higher lows. And that's what's forming right now. Currently around 47% to the apex of the symmetrical triangle. 74% to the apex is a typical breakout area. This is from the patternsite.com. I get a lot of my data. A lot of what I've learned in technical analysis is from Bulkowski on the patternsite.com, but we know upward 60% of the time and 74% of the way to the triangle apex. That's based on 3,000 trades. So going back to the chart, we have a little bit of room now to continue to watch Bitcoin consolidate on this hourly chart. And again, zoom out on these charts, these moves of just explosive to the upside, back to the downside. They're very typical for Bitcoin over the years, right? How often have we done videos talking about just these mini moves to the downside, the explosive moves to the upside? They happen all the time. And this is an hourly chart, and we're getting a pattern forming right now. So we know based on that data that we just looked at, 74% to the apex, we can, anticipate a breakout one way or another. That can happen sooner or later, but what we're looking for now are key areas of support and resistance for Bitcoin as Bitcoin simply gets squeezed into the apex here. Now, in terms of targets, once Bitcoin does essentially break out of whatever consolidation it does do, we have around a $55,000, $54,000 target to the upside, and to the downside, you're not going to like this, everybody, but it's there into the mid 20,000s. I mean, that's like around $23,000. So you have to be very aware of these charts right now for Bitcoin, because the long-term question is Bitcoin going to bounce off of the 20-day moving average? And it translates very nicely. The Fibonacci resistance that we just saw is right there, right? And it's playing out very nicely for a potential upward move for Bitcoin, simply because we have this last area of support, and this is what we're watching for in the immediate short term. Here's another clip, the last clip from yesterday. This 6-hour candle stalls out. Bitcoin comes back into the green Fibonacci resistance area, trades sideways. We're seeing resistance somewhere in here, comes back down, and then Bitcoin puts in this swing high right around here, and we have a new Fibonacci support, which would be the previous swing low to this current swing high resistance, right? And then we're talking about Bitcoin potentially putting in a higher low, and that's the last clip, but it sets up exactly what just happened. We saw the resistance at the Fibonacci resistance, the green rectangle that you see on the screen, and now it's playing out very, very similar to how we speculatively said yesterday, that swing low to that new swing high that is in now, and Bitcoin coming down and testing a Fibonacci support now. And in the immediate short-term future, as of today, right now, this is what you want to watch. It's promising as we sit here and we look at the 6-hour chart. It's promising to see, it looks like we had some buyers down here on the 6-hour candle. How's this 6-hour candle going to close? Number one, even in the next hour, how's that going to close? And then number two, what kind of consolidation all above this Fibonacci support area do we see, right? So, and that's just what we have to watch for in the coming hours. I can't tell you what's going to happen, but we very, very successfully, I would say, anticipated this entire setup. We got the resistance up here at the Fibonacci resistance. We've come back down. We haven't even quite tested this Fibonacci support, so that's very much in play right now as well. So, if Bitcoin closes this red candle and then just starts putting in another red candle, Bitcoin can very well fall into this area. It's 33,900, right? Down to 32,200. So at the end of the day, this dip could look like, in the last day or so, potentially a 20% dip again for Bitcoin. So be mindful of that, right? There's potential for downside. We're getting a short-term little mini recovery right now in the 6-hour chart, but this is where the support lies below in the hours ahead. It's 11:50 a.m. Eastern. I don't know what's going to play out in the hours ahead, but I feel like a little bit later today I might have to do another update depending on what Bitcoin does. There's always potential Bitcoin fails at support. And that could be kind of this short-term, mid-term detrimental move for all of you that are bulls, including myself. I don't want to see moves to the downside. We're prepared for it, right? When we start zooming out on the daily chart, we know, everybody. This is something we talk about all the time. Bitcoin is still overextended right now as I do this video, even after this dip, around 40% from the 50-day moving average. We're waiting for this 50-day moving average to really catch up to Bitcoin. Bitcoin's consolidating, which is good, and it's bringing this 50-day moving average up. We want to see this for bullish continuation, but at the end of the day, we're going to track this 20-day moving average, because Bitcoin is kind of, over the last months or so since October, successfully kind of just seen support above that area. And if we want to, and it kind of spoiled us, right, in terms of Bitcoin and Bitcoin gains. But if we want to see continuation, Bitcoin's really going to have to bounce off of this entire support area. This is a higher low area from the swing low that we had not long ago, like 5 days ago on January 10th or 11th. So putting in a potential higher low right now could be very bullish for Bitcoin. Consolidate upwards a little bit, break through to through the apex of the symmetrical triangle on our way to that, breakout target to the upside. So that's what we're anticipating right now. I can't sit here and tell you what's going to happen. Don't take advice from YouTubers, people. Please, I'm not going to tell you to short Bitcoin, to long Bitcoin right now. This is the data. I know what I'm doing personally, and I never share anything with my moves because I don't want to influence your moves. Everybody is so different in their portfolio, in their long-term goals. So just absorb the data that I'm giving you and that other YouTubers are giving you, and learn to make your own decisions. It's such a more powerful approach anyway. You don't want to listen to other people for your own success. You want to make your own decisions. So get comfortable with the data on the screen, get comfortable with these moves, and let's track Bitcoin, right? And that's as simple as it's going to get. So 6-hour chart, I just want to note something. Bitcoin had this area back here where it consolidated, and you can just see Bitcoin had, what was the dip? From this swing high to this swing low beginning of January. So that's a 20% dip for Bitcoin, right? All up in here, people were probably calling the top for Bitcoin, and look what transpired. So you have to keep that in mind. And you can even see kind of illustrated on this 6-hour candle right here, Bitcoin, just people buying that up, right? And there's a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt right now with the Tether stuff that could be playing into this. But it just seems to me that even no matter what even happens with this Tether news, even if it brings Bitcoin lower, it just seems to me that there are buyers just waiting, and it doesn't seem to me that the demand for Bitcoin is going anywhere. And I really just don't think any of the Tether stuff, because I know a lot of people have been asking, is affecting the long-term trajectory, the macro charts of Bitcoin that we've talked about on this channel. And this is what the zoomed out cycles of Bitcoin chart looks like. And Bitcoin just, in my opinion, still very healthy. But we're going to have to track this in the very short term just to see if Bitcoin can hold support above this support area, and time will tell. I wanted to do a quick update for you all. I appreciate you all cruising by. Again, and Rob D in the chats just said it, if you're new to this game, I wouldn't be concerned with anything other than a daily, weekly, monthly chart. And it's, we cover Bitcoin on the 6-hour, the hourly. We're tracking these short-term moves because, let's face it, we're all watching Bitcoin on the charts, right? We're opening up. We're seeing if there was a crazy move in the short term while we're working or doing whatever we're doing. But and I'm updating you on these things because it is important. But truly, what Rob said is the most important. Zoom out on the daily, right? Zoom out on the weekly. Get a clear long-term idea of what is happening, and make your moves based on that. If you're a short-term trader, maybe that's a different story. Obviously, this stuff matters a little bit more, but don't be so mentally and emotionally affected by these short-term moves for Bitcoin, and just get used to them. And this is, if you're new to crypto, this is nothing new, right? So let's track what Bitcoin does. I want to note, and this isn't to scare anybody. It's just always in the back of my mind, and I'm not saying this is the top of a bull market or anything like that. But when you're looking at a move that Bitcoin is making right now, right here, you can't help but go back to 2017 bull market high, and just kind of Bitcoin came back down, tested that 20. And actually, let me zoom in here so we can see this a little bit better. And that's not the bull market high. Anyway, that's last summer. So let's zoom in on the bull market high, and Bitcoin, topped out. You all remember, came back down, actually fell below the 20-day moving average, and we can place a Fibonacci retracement, and it failed at a key Fibonacci swing high and continued to a downtrend, right? So when we go and we look at the charts now, and I'm not saying Bitcoin's putting in the top of a bull market, but what I am saying is, even in the midterm, this could be the setup for a midterm kind of longer term consolidation, not bear market consolidation, but we're watching this Fibonacci retracement. Ultimately, after Bitcoin is done with this symmetrical triangle, ultimately what we would really like to see is Bitcoin break to the upside and back through this Fibonacci retracement. That resistance is there right now. And if Bitcoin can actually manage in the short term to break 37,600 to 39,800 or so, if Bitcoin breaks above that, that would be extremely bullish, especially on the macro and the midterm. So those are my thoughts, everybody. Hit that subscribe if you're not a subscriber. Turn the notification bells on. I think I was looking at analytics and it was like, I think 10% of people get notifications. So turn the notification bells on, hit that like button. I truly appreciate it as we get momentum. The likes really help get momentum on these videos. So thank you for your support. We're cruising, everybody, but hang in there. This is a mental game. We'll continue to track Bitcoin and we'll see what happens. Have an awesome day. I'll catch you later. God bless.